Good afternoon. We have with us here Dr. Kapur, candidate for the Young People's Party for the Corby by-election. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Kapur.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Kapur, what would you say the main themes of your party's policies are?
We're here to lower tax, create better conditions for the young people, and cut waste in government.
So are there any taxes in particular that you think are particularly egregious and you'd focus on first?
Yes, we're aiming to get rid of income tax, VAT, and all the other little taxes, stamp duties, inheritance tax, and replace them with a land value tax. And for those people who don't know what a land value tax is, it's similar to the old rate system, where the rateable value of land is determined on how much it produces, and you get taxed on that. So say for a house, you would pay maybe 1% of its value. I mean, you pay that in council tax already. So you pay, what, £1,500 in council tax? So you'd pay a little bit more, but then again you wouldn't be paying income tax, VAT, all the other nonsense taxes. You'd just be paying that amount. And of course, if the amount of land value tax that you were liable for was equivalent to the citizen's income that you would receive, you would end up paying no tax at all. So for most people, they wouldn't be paying any tax.
It sounds like you're talking about not just a small cut in the level of tax, but a very, very significant reduction in the total taxation revenue collected.
Absolutely.
What fraction of current taxation revenue would you aim to lower this to?
We could probably manage on, I mean, income tax at the moment is only 1/4 of the total tax rate. So we could probably cut taxes by 3/4.
What services would you retain? As it's probably a shorter list than to ask which services you'd cut.
We'd retain all services. All services can still function with the current level of spending that we envisage, which would be about 2003-2004 levels, where we still had an NHS, because at the moment we're spending far too much. We're getting 600 billion in from the tax take, and we're spending 700 billion, and we're deficit spending, which is thieving basically from our children and our grandchildren. You know, we're thieving from their future wages, which is not right.
So if you're cutting the amount of revenue collected in tax by 3/4, then only having 150 billion, you're increasing the deficit much quicker.
No, because we'd also cut out waste. We're going to cut out waste by leaving the EU. There are a lot of regulations, red tape, bureaucracy that cost a lot of money. We're going to get rid of those.
What fraction of the UK GDP do you believe that we pay to the EU?
We currently pay about 6% to 8% of GDP to the EU.
And how much of that do we get back?
We currently get about 2% back.
So we're looking, by those figures, between about 4 and 6% of GDP. I mean, that's not having a big impact when compared to the 3/4 cut in taxation revenue.
That's
that you're
right.
talking about.
But the thing is that if you cut taxes, productivity will increase, because there'll be less restrictions. Therefore, businesses will be able to carry on a lot better.
Now, there is some evidence that there are small increases in productivity when taxes are cut from very high levels to moderate levels. Surely that relationship begins to get a lot weaker when you look at the more modest levels of tax that we have in this country at the moment.
No, I think that even if we raise the tax threshold and lower taxes, we'll all be better off and be more productive. And we'll still be able to run the NHS, provide essential services, run the councils, keep the streets clean. That will all be still possible.
But we would need a threefold increase in productivity, which is a very significant increase.
Yeah, but at the moment, most of our productivity and output is determined by the EU, which regulates what we can sell, how we can sell it, where we can do things. These things would be removed.
So if we look at the time before the existence of the EU, so the first half of the 20th century, we did have, I think, significant increase in GDP that can't be attributed to any interaction with the EU. But a lot of that is due to increases in capital, development of technology, and 50 years worth of growth. But it takes that level of impact, surely, to have this threefold increase in productivity that you're aiming to match over a fairly short term?
We aim to pay off the deficit that Britain is currently trading in about 10 years.
How did you arrive at that figure?
My economist Mark Wadsworth came up with that. So, yes, because we will be aiming to spend less than we're currently spending, because there's a lot of waste in the system, we'll be aiming for a surplus every year, and therefore we'll be able to pay that into the debt, into the deficit, and pay off our debts.